Hi, this is Dr. Ray Nannis with Optimum Wellness Solutions, and today we're going to be discussing several things. The first thing we're going to start with is, what is health? I've asked that question to probably about 10,000 people over the course of my career, and the interesting thing is, if I were to ask you for just a moment, what do you think health is? Or more importantly, how do you know if you're healthy? As I said, I've asked that question to many people over the course of my career, and almost all the time what I discover is that they think that health has something to do with how they feel. Most people say they know they're healthy when they feel good, or they know that they're unhealthy if they feel bad. Maybe they have a symptom or something along that line, so they would say that they're unhealthy. So I'd like to take a couple of moments and I'd like to investigate that. I'm going to start with a couple of stories. The first one, I took a trip to France. I want to say it was 2001. It was New Year's Eve. We did exactly what you would expect to happen on New Year's Eve. We went out and we partied. We had a good time. We enjoyed ourselves, and we got back to the hotel. Now, the interesting thing to understand is that the hotels in France are not like the hotels that we have here. Most of the hotels there are basically a small room, if you get even that, possibly a bathroom. We were lucky we did have our own bathroom, but there's none of the amenities that you might expect from many of the hotels that you would have here, some of the more modern hotels. Basically, there's a person that sits at the front desk. They might clean up the room during the day. That's about it. So a lot of people called it quaint. I call it dilapidated, but we'll leave it at that. So we get back after spending the night out. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. There's nothing open. We had to look around to discover a place to eat, and the only thing that was open was a pizza place. So we ordered a pizza. Thought it was fine. I know we were in France, Paris, France, and the best thing we could come up with pizza, but it was 2 o'clock in the morning. So we order a pizza, and they do something unique in France that I've never seen them do, at least in America, is when the pizza was cooked, they put an egg on the pizza after it was cooked and right in the center. And the heat from the pizza was supposed to cook the egg. So I thought it was a little bit weird, but I was thinking, okay, well, I'm in a foreign country. If that's their policy, whatever, I'm just going to go with it. The next morning was pretty much about the beginning of the worst day of my life. So we were scheduled on a double-decker red bus tour. If you can imagine those red buses that you see in the movies, they're double-deckers, they run around Paris and France. We're scheduled on a tour for the outskirts of Paris to go visit all of the castles. Kind of was excited about it. There's a lot of neat art, there's a lot of cool things that were going on there. But I had food poisoning. I thought I felt good enough. We got on the bus, and I will tell you, it was literally the worst day of my life. I had every symptom in the book. What do I mean? My back hurt, my head hurt, I was throwing up, I had diarrhea, literally everything. And I'm stuck on this bus. Now, in America, if you're on a tour bus and the tour bus breaks down, they send another bus. Apparently, in Europe, if you're on a tour bus and the tour bus breaks down and you're only a mile or so from the depot or the next stop, everybody gets off and walks. Normally that wouldn't bother me, but you got to remember, I felt miserable. The question that I'm going to ask you, even though I think given the opportunity that day, I may have chose death, the question that I'm going to ask is this: was I healthy? It's a bit of a trick question. Many people would say no, but some people would say yes, and I'd like to lean towards that yes side. What do I mean by that? My body was doing exactly what it was supposed to do at that time. I had eaten poison, literally. The food that we eat becomes our eyeballs and our toes and literally everything in between. And if we eat healthy food, we get better eyeballs and toes. If we eat unhealthy food, we get less healthy or sick eyeballs and toes. The intelligence, the innate intelligence of my body recognized that the food that I ate was bad for me, did two things. Number one, reminded me not to do it again. And believe me, I remember the lesson. But more importantly, it got rid of those toxins. It was not a pleasant experience, but it was exactly what was supposed to happen. In other words, my body was expressing health even though I felt really bad. I want to tell another story. I was about 14 years old. My very best friend in the world, his name was Alan. His father's name was Chuck. Chuck was one of those active dads. He was the coach of the baseball team. He was active with our Boy Scout group. His son and myself were very involved with Boy Scouts. We were hiking, biking, camping, doing all the stuff that Boy Scouts do, and Chuck was right involved with all of that. He was also in the military. He got regular examinations. He was a photography teacher at Eastfield College, a very active man, and for the most part, we would have said that he was healthy as well. Chuck and his family went on a skiing vacation. And I've gone skiing a couple of times as well, and I will tell you, it's a lot of work. For those of you that are skiers, you know that skiing is a lot of effort. Chuck went up the mountain, felt good enough to do that, put his skis on and started skiing down. He had a heart attack. Never had a symptom ever before that we know of, and he died 2 days later. The question that I would ask is this: do you think Chuck was healthy a couple of days before he had that heart attack, even though he had absolutely no symptom? The obvious answer is no. In fact, I talked with a cardiologist one time and said, do people just have heart attacks? Because it seemed unusual to me. And he said, of course not. What actually happens is the heart will degenerate, it will rot, it will decay over decades many times, at least one, if not two, before we have the event of the heart attack. Mr. Chuck had absolutely no symptoms, and he died. I had every symptom in the book. My body was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. So again, I ask you, do you think that health has much, if anything, to do with how you feel? Of course, when you feel good most of the time, that's an indication that you may be healthy, but it's not the whole story. I'd like you to think of health as a state of optimal physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of disease or infirmity. In other words, it's when the body, all of the systems, the organs, the cells, are functioning at close to 100% most of the time. And more importantly, it's when your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do right this instant. It's not dealing with something in the past or prepping for something in the future. It's when your body is functioning right now. And to me, that's probably the most important concept of what health is, because a truly healthy person, their body is being dynamic, but it's being dynamic with whatever is occurring. If you're running a race, it's running. If you're sitting in front of a computer, it's sitting. In other words, you don't have high blood pressure like you would if you were running a race when you're sitting down or when you're laying down. Because high blood pressure is a totally normal state if you're walking up the stairs or running a race. In other words, again, health is your body doing exactly what it's supposed to do at that particular instance. This has been Dr. Ray Nannis with Optimum Wellness Solutions, offering you your optimum wellness solution. Tell me when I'm ready.
You ready?
All right. What happened?